So in continuation to the last class, now we'll get into more detail about this. We're trying to understand why is HANA so fast in the performance. Like HANA is an see basically it's like a at core it's a database, and only thing is it's an in-memory database, and it's a platform because it has got its own access engine where you can develop your applications and deploy on top of it. You don't need a separate web server. You can use access engine itself as a web server and deploy your applications. That's the main point. But why is this HANA so fast is what we're trying to understand now. So there are a couple of innovations from hardware perspective which is making it fast, and there have been some innovations from software perspective which is making it fast. Now, when it comes with hardware perspective, it's about multi-core processor, multi-core processing, or in fact, you can say multi-core massive parallel processing. So it's not about having cores; it's about having multiple cores and leveraging those multiple cores and processing the data in parallel. That is what is important. Now, what they say is there's been a lot of advancement in the hardware that so we used to heard about dual core, quad core. When I say dual quad core is what? It's a processor with 4 cores in it. Or when you say dual core, it's like processor with 2 cores in it. Now we say we can have a CPU with 8 cores or 10 cores now. Now imagine a motherboard with say 8 CPUs now. So ultimately each CPU holding 10 cores. Now when you have 8 CPUs in a motherboard, you get 80 cores in it. And if you want to enhance the hardware sizing, you can go about combining 4 motherboards into it or any n number. If you say 4, you'll get 80 into 4 cores. That's what. So you can increase the sizing of your hardware with the number of cores in it. And each core of a CPU is that part which actually does your transaction, does your event, does your processing of your data. And when once you have multi-core, and what HANA does is it does deploy massive parallel processing with multi-core bus. For example, I have column A, I've got column B, and I've got column C bus. So let's say there might be a lot of columns in the table, but I fire a query saying select column A, select column B, column C from table. So I'm just trying to read 3 columns, right? So what it does do vertical fragmentation. It does split column A, column B, and column C. And the reading of column A is assigned to processed by core 1, and the reading of column B is processed by core 2. And let's say column C is again is bit huge, okay, with distinct values. Then again it does do horizontal fragmentation, again with 2 parts. Then it does say what part 1 is assigned by core processed by core 3, and again part 2 is assigned by core 4. Now I got 4 cores processing my select statement, my thread. Each activity is like a thread, and my thread is processed by 4 cores here. And because of massive parallel processing, you get the results in quick times. This is one of the reasons why HANA is fast. And when you're writing a SQL scripting or when you're writing code, you don't write any syntax for parallel processing or whatever. It is all inbuilt logic. Our system decides which statements can get executed parallel. For example, you write statement 1, statement 2, statement 3, and statement 4. Say statement 1, statement 2, statement 3 is about reading data from table 1, table 2, table 3, and statement 4 is about joining the entire result set. So statement 1, statement 2, statement 3 has got no interdependency bus. System will start executing those 3 statements parallel automatically. Then it goes on to step 4. Getting this what? So when you're writing your code, you would not write anything explicitly where you control it to get executed parallelly. By default, it is parallel bus. Okay. And also now we're able to have hardware with the RAM of 2 TB, but now it's already been 4. You're able to have a server with 4 TB RAM bus. Okay. So even with the size of increase in the RAM, we're able to leverage RAM now to store data, and that is another reason of performance. So when you see in-memory database, HANA is going to store all its data in your main memory, nothing but RAM, and will process data from main memory bus. And this is resulting in high performance. Now the question is, when I have huge amount, when it's a big data, you're going to have huge data, right? So are we going to store entire data into RAM? No, no, boss. So there is a concept called dynamic tiering. From SP10 and SP11, SAP comes out with an big data solution for HANA, which is called as dynamic tiering. By using dynamic tiering, what they do is they categorize this data as warm and cold. Hot is like more valued data, which is more frequently used for reporting, which we will store in in-memory tables. And say warm, which is what we don't really use it very frequently, but we will need it. So what they do is from HANA, you create an extended storage onto disk. You'll configure an extended storage which will be onto disk bus, and all the data what we consider as warm, you'll put onto the disk there. During runtime of the query, let's say there's a table with 100 columns, and we never wanted this very frequently, so you consider this as warm, and you stored into extended storage, not in the in-memory bus. You will configure extended storage for for your HANA, which is the hard disk bus. And let's say this table is on the disk. Okay, when you fire a query, let's say which is reading 3 columns of the table, it actually loads those 3 columns into main memory and then gives it to the result. And once these 3 columns comes into main memory, it will be there, and it keeps using it for next onwards. And until you execute a statement called unload, it doesn't go bus. Getting this? So as when you consider big data, you may not be able to store all data in main memory bus within this 4 TB or 6 TB. So what they do, they use a concept of dynamic tiering, categorize the data as hot, warm, and cold, and they create an extended storage which will be referred to your hard disk. And then all the data what they consider as hot, they'll store in main memory RAM. Okay, and all the data what they consider as warm, they'll push into the disk, which is an extended storage. And when you fire a query, first it tries to search for in RAM. If it doesn't find, then the next reference would be from the disk bus. That is what they refer it as dynamic tiering, which is only from SP10 and SP11. Yeah. So that is how we handle big data with SAP HANA. So having storing data in main memory, processing data in main memory, and handling big data with dynamic tiering and multi-core processing is the innovations what comes from the hardware, which is actually been leveraged by HANA to improve the performance of your reporting or whatever processing. Clear? And now when we get onto the software innovations, there are some innovations which is done as part of SAP HANA software itself, which is really improving the performance of the processing. Now this is very, 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 very important. Row and column store tables. Very, very important. This is the one which is actually making an effect on the performance. Row and column store. See, any database, whether it is MS Access or can you hear me now? Hello? Hello? No.
Hello.
Now? Can you hear me now? Okay. 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 Next, we're discussing on the software innovations, which is basically resulted the performance in HANA bus. First is this row store and column store. Any database you refer, whether it is MS Access or MS SQL or Sybase or DB2 or Sybase, anything you refer, okay. Ultimately, we use a structure called table to store your database. When you want to store data in a structured format, we use what? Table. Any database. But how you go about creating table, how you manipulate the table might be different from database to database. But ultimately, any database, if you want to store data in a structured format, we will use what? Table. Which is what? Rows and columns, right? This is a table, right? Like rows, you have set of rows and what? Columns is a table. That is what we use it to store your database. But do you feel that you get to see the table in this way, but does it store the same way in the back end of memory bus? In the inside memory, does it store the table the same way like a matrix like this, like rows and columns? Double is పెట్టుకుంటుంది లోపల లేదు కదండి. For you, you see it that way, but does it really store in the same way in the backend? No. Okay. All your databases like your MS Access or Oracle or MS SQL, all this they store in row store format. When you say row store, this is how they store the data. Like look at this. So in the table, you understand what is row, right? Each record is referred as what? Row. And this is a column. Like country is one column, product is one column, sales is one column. Now when you say row, each record is a row bus. Okay. Now when you say row store table, ultimately whether it is column store or row store, when you see the table, you can see table this way, like a matrix with rows and columns. But how does it store internally? It will differ based on whether it is row store or column store. If it is row store table, how it does store data internally is different, and how it is stored internally if it is column store is different. Okay. Now, if you say you've created this table as a okay. Okay, if you say you create this table as a row store table, okay, boss. If you say you created this table as a row store table, internally each record or it stores row by row at continuous memory locations. Boss. Each record or a row is stored in one continuous memory. When you say row store, like India, chocolate 1000 will be stored in one memory location. Boss. The next row, India, ice cream 2000 in the next another certain memory location. Germany, chocolate 4000 in another memory location, like linked list. The entire row will be in one particular memory locations like this. That is called as row store. But if I create the same in HANA and Sybase, there's another database which is acquired by SAP, also supports columnar storage of database. If it is columnar storage, how does it store? All the values of the column are stored in one memory location. Let's say all the values of this country is stored in one memory location. All the values of this column product are stored in one memory location. All the values of this column sales are stored in one memory location. But when each column is separated, then how does it know which value is linked to which value? It will have something called positioning indexing, which will tell you that which column of a value is referred to which record. Say for example, I have India. India is referred to say row number 1 and row number 2. It maintains something called positioning indexing. I'll show you how does it do. So this is what columnar storage, and this is what. And one more thing, what is not showed here is, for example, if you look at country, how many countries do you have here? How many values have got? 4. But do I see India being repeated? So when I store these column values in one memory locations, when I see redundancy, I can eliminate that out. I can just store only India, Germany, US. And then for India, I'll maintain a positioning index saying India is referred for row number 2 and row number 3 with some integers. I will not store India multiple times. I'll just store India only once, and we'll have a positioning indexing which tells that India is referred for row number 1 and row number 2, which is called as positioning indexing. So with this now, so this is the columnar storage and this is row store. Now we'll have to decide which is better. Okay. Now look at this. Now first thing is we've decided that when I store the values of a column, it just stores only the distinct values. It compresses the data and stores only what? Distinct values. Imagine I have a table with 1 million records, and I've got a column called region, and maximum regions are only south, north, east, and west. And if I store this region at one memory location, where I say it does store only distinct values, how many values will it store? Only for south, north, east, and west. And then say for south, it will have a positioning indexing saying south is referred for row number 1, row number 10, row number 1 lakh, row number 1 lakh 1, 1 lakh 2. It does have a row number indexing saying this value is for which all the rows, which is called as positioning indexing. There I'm just storing the data with only 4 values only. So it was 10 lakhs values ni 4 values tone betnana. But if it is row store, do I end up storing the region value for each row separately, and do I end up storing 1 million values of region? So with column store, if I store my table with column store mechanism, am I reducing the space required to store the table? Am I compressing the space? So columnar storage will result in compressing the space which is required to store your table. That is one benefit you get with the column storage. Okay, fine. Next, let's say I run a query like this. I have a table like this. I run a query saying select country sales from this table. I say select country sales from the, when I say select country sales means saying from this table I would like to read country and I would like to read what? Sales from this table. That's my query bus. So which is faster? Now let's say I have a table in row store, then what I do? I go to the memory location where my row one is stored, pick up India and what? Sales. Again jump to another memory location where my country where my second record is stored, then take what? India and then what? Again take sales, then to another memory location, then to another memory. Imagine you have a table with 1 million bus. Then how many jumps you do to different memory locations bus? 1 million times, right? But if it is stored in a column store, imagine this. So I just have to say select country and what? Sales bus. So I just go to the memory location where all my countries are stored, get the countries. I'll go to the memory location where all the sales are stored and I get the sales. So I'm just trying to read all the countries which are stored in continuous memory locations bus. Countries అన్ని వరుసగా ఒకటే దగ్గర ఉన్నాయి కాబట్టి అక్కడికి వెళ్ళి తెచ్చుకుంటా. సేల్స్ అన్ని ఒకటే దగ్గర ఉన్నాయి కూడా అక్కడ నుంచి సేల్స్ తెచ్చుకుంటా. దెన్ ఐ విత్ పొజిషనింగ్ ఇండెక్సింగ్ ఐ map which values map to which row and then show it. So now say when I'm just selecting it, when I'm performing a select query or when I'm reading a data from a table for certain columns, which is faster? Column store is faster. Obviously, logic you understand it's being faster, right? But if say my query is this way, I'm saying like this: select star. When I say star means what? All columns from this table where my country is US. I'm saying select star from this table where my country is US. Then what? Then if I go with column, I'll have to jump to the memory location where country is stored, pick the country, then jump to memory location where my product is stored, get the product, then jump to the memory location where sales is stored, get the sales, right? So I'm jumping to 3 different memory locations. But if it is row store, I straight away jump to the memory location where US is stored, read that complete record where it is stored in the continuous memory location, just read the record of US and then give it to you in the report. Which is faster? Row store is faster. So generally when you say select star, row store is faster, but when you're selecting certain columns of a table, then what? Column store is faster. So the analysis is when you're using this data or data tables for analytical applications or for analysis, okay, do you really generate queries like select star or select certain columns? Generally it is select certain columns. Then which one would you prefer? Now can I say for analytical applications I would prefer columnar storage. Let's say for operational kind of reporting or for transactional postings, what type of table would I prefer? Because I would deal with the entire row. But generally I would try to read the entire row. Then row store is much more better in case of operational reporting when you're trying to read entire record of a table. Okay, boss? That's fine. And next let's think about inserting a record, boss. Let's think about inserting a new record here. Okay. So I have this table already, and then I'm trying to insert a new record into this table saying Nepal, and let's say I would like to insert a product saying noodles and some say 9,000. Which is faster? I would like to insert a new record to the table. Which is faster? Row store. Basically, I just have to take the entire row values, go to find out a memory location which is free, place it there, that's it. If it's columnar storage, I'll have to go to the memory location where my country column is stored, go there, place my country Nepal, then go to another memory location where my product is stored, place my product, then go to the sales where my column sales is stored, then drop sales there. So I'll have to scan through 3 addresses there, but here I just find out one memory location which is free, just dump the record there. So for inserting new record, which is faster? Row store is faster. So columnar storage is only faster when you're trying to read, not while writing. Yes or no? Yeah. So that's the problem with the columnar storage. So this is pretty logical. Everyone understands this. Now the logic is how SAP is solving this problem. Because when you look at the table in HANA, I will be doing both. I'll be inserting data and I'll be using it for what? Reporting also. In both the case, I would like to handle the performance. So what is the different logic SAP uses in the backend to make sure that columnar storage still has got good performance in while inserting as well as while reading bus. That's the concept we'll have to look at. That is the major innovation what they have done in the backend. Yeah. This is fine. This is what they're trying to say. Look at this. If you're trying to run some queries like say select sum of certain column, means you're just trying to read only one column. Then what? Column store would be faster. If you say row, you end up reading all the rows and then sum it up, which is it takes a lot of time. But if you're writing some selects like select star, then obviously you're reading a particular row. This is faster. That's what we've been discussing. If it is column store, it has to go to every column, then do indexing and then bring it out. It takes time. Good. Now we're trying to understand here how does SAP manages internally with the columnar storage with the insert operations also. We have decided that we'll be using this column store table for analysis where we're going to read only certain columns. So I don't have a problem with reading. We have agreed that for analytical applications, we will be reading only certain columns of a table. So I don't have a problem while reading. But do I still have problem while inserting data into the table? Because in the column store table, when I insert, it does jump to lot of addresses. It takes a lot of time. So now we are focusing on how does SAP address this problem of inserting data into column store table. Okay, boss. See, for now, just try to understand like basic funda, but we'll get it more detail when you get out of the system. We'll see that later. But yeah. So what they say, how do they handle it? When they create a column store table, okay, internally it actually, for now I'm just refer them as tables, okay, but they're not actually tables, but we'll discuss later. When you create a column store table, it actually creates two tables in the backend. One is called as main table and one is called as delta table. When you create a column store table, when you create a column store table in SAP HANA, it actually creates two tables in the backend or two memory locations or two storages. One is called as main and one is called as delta table. Table. When you create, it's actually not tables, it is called two storages, two memory locations actually. Yeah. So when you create a column store table in SAP HANA, it actually creates two sub tables. One is called as main table and one is called as delta table. Main table is actual column store table, which is more optimized for reading. Okay. And the delta table would simulate a row store table, which is optimized for writing. When you create a column store table, it actually will have two storages for the column store or two tables and sub tables in the backend. One is referred as main table and one is referred as what? Delta table. See, you got main table and you got what? Delta table. The main table is more of a column store mechanism which is optimized for reading, okay, certain columns. Yeah. And when you look at the delta, it is more of a row store mechanism in the backend which is optimized for writing. So when I have main and delta like this, when I try to insert some new records into the column table, you're actually inserting into delta table, not to the main. But when you're reading data from the column table, you actually read the union of both. You take it from the main, you take it from delta and unify it and give the results out. You getting what I'm saying? Every write, see, you'll have main table, delta table. Main table is more of a column store mechanism in the backend, optimized for reading. Delta table is more of a row store mechanism, optimized for writing. So all the write operations go into delta table and all the read operations are done on both, union of both, main and delta together. So let's say I write some new record. Since the delta table is more enabled as row store, it inserts fast, okay? But actually when I read, it takes data from main and what? Delta. At regular intervals, asynchronously. Okay, what do? We run a process called delta merge bus. When you run the process called delta merge, it takes all the data from the delta and writes it to what? Main. Actually, this way రాయదు వేరే కొద్ది ఎక్కువ చేస్తుంది బట్ యాక్చువల్ లాజిక్ గా ఏం చేస్తుందంటే ఫ్రమ్ డెల్టా ఇట్ టేక్స్ ఆల్ ది డేటా అండ్ రైట్స్ ఇట్ టు వాట్ మెయిన్ బస్. when you perform a process called delta merge bus. Like what? You drop and reload. This is not like dropping and reload. This is more like two subsets, two memory locations optimized for different purpose. One for reading, one for writing. But reading is done on both, union of both main and delta, but write is done on delta bus. So since delta is more of a row store, you are able to insert faster. User does not feel the pain. It goes fast. Okay. Asynchronously, when the user is not there, I would trigger something called what? Delta merge, which will take data from delta store to what? Main store bus. Getting this? By using this mechanism, they're basically solving the problem of write operations on column store. So now, with this concept in the back end of columnar storage, it is able to handle the write operations as well as read operations. That's why we would for all your application tables, which will be used for analysis, I would prefer going with what? Columnar storage. But more of a system tables like repository tables or metadata tables where system table, like a table which maintains information about all the tables, views, schemas, all system tables will be row stored because you always try to deal with the entire row there, not a single column. That is not used for analytics. So most of the system tables are row store. All the application tables, what you build it, is all out of what? Columnar storage. Okay. Say again one more time, what is delta merge? Okay. Main memory mean RAM. Yes, main memory is RAM. Yeah. Main memory is RAM bus. Okay. And when I say delta merge, what is it happening? Your all the write operations are going on to delta. And when you do delta merge, see, end user comes in and types in a record bus and then saves in. The data goes and sits in delta. Since delta is optimized for writing, like row store, user does not feel that take long time. He immediately gets a message saying document has been saved. He gets off. And then at regular asynchronously, I would run delta merge, which will take data from delta store to what? Main store bus. But even before delta merge, the data is still available for reporting. Because why? When I do a read on the table, does it read from main or delta or both? Both. More or less like a compression, F table, E table of a cube. That kind of concept. Okay. Now if you get
As it is in main memory, if sometimes there is some crash or something.
I'll discuss. We'll see. In the architecture, we'll see. Now you understood about delta merge, right? Now when you go in deep, okay, there'll be different types of merging. Now the question is, who will do the merging? Do I do the merging? Yeah. So when you discuss on different types of merging, then you'll get to understanding of it. There's something called hard merge. Auto merge. There's something called auto merge. Now what is this concept is? Let's say you know how to create a table. In any database, you write say create a table with these columns you do, and you write a DDL statement about creating a table. While writing DDL statement itself, you would specify a parameter saying auto merge on. While creating table itself, I can say auto merge on. Okay. When I do that, what happens? It's all about it's a system responsibility to perform the merging on this table. Okay, type of merge in the auto merge. If you enable the table for auto merge, in the internal server, you'll have a process called merge dog. You'll have an engine called merge dog, which will be scanning all the tables, and any tables which requires merging, system will take care about merging the table automatically. You don't do that. If I enable auto merge on a table, you will have a processor called merge dog, which will be scanning through all the tables. Wherever it finds any table suitable for merging, it does do merging. Now the question is, how does it decide whether this table needs merging or not? Okay. So there will be something called auto merge decision function and formula between them. We'll maintain something called auto merge decision function, we'll give certain criteria saying if delta store is this much size or if main store is this much size, we'll give certain condition. And what happens, if your merge dog will be scanning through all the tables. Whenever any table satisfies this condition, it'll do trigger the merge bus. You getting this? What I'm saying? It'll trigger the merge. That is called as auto merge bus. Fine. Okay. Then what happens when that is one type of merging. Then one more thing is we'll deal with something called, mainly in BW we deal with something called smart merge bus. Now when you say smart merge, it is like this. When you defining a table, your auto merge will be switched off. When auto merge is switched off means what? Your merge dog will not check the table. Merge dog doesn't have any responsibility of triggering the auto merge automatically. No auto merge at all. Auto merge has been switched off then. Okay. Why is it I'm switching off? Let's say I create a cube in my BW system. I create some DSO. It's like a table. Who don't know BW, treat that as a table. And I'm just loading huge amounts of data bus. Let's say I'm trying to load 2 million data bus. After I finish loading 1 million, I'm still in the loading process. After I finish loading 1 million records to the table, let's say merge dog has found that this is satisfying my condition and it starts triggering merging bus. But still we have not completed loading. We're still in the middle of the loading process, but your merge dog triggers your merging bus. That will affect your loading performance. So to not handle this loading performance, what we do is we will switch off the auto merge so that merge dog will not check my condition at all. First, I'll finish off loading. Then I'll manually trigger say perform merging. That is called a smart merge. Name manual I will say trigger the merge now. That is called a smart merge. So as soon as you say perform merge now, it does issue a token to the server to start doing merging on this table. But it will perform merging only again for smart merge. You'll have decision function you can set. It will give a token to the server to do the merging, but does do merging only when the condition is satisfied. Getting on this? Say if you get into the administration, if you get to the configuration here, yeah, what is you see something called merge dog, and there's something called auto merge decision. What is this here? Auto merge decision function and say change. And here they just define some formula or criteria which when this condition is satisfied or when this criteria is satisfied, your auto merge will be triggered by what? Delta merge. So auto merge is what? Automatically triggered by what? Merge dog bus. And smart merge is something which I trigger it. Okay. So for that, again, I told you, when I trigger the smart merge, that is called a smart merge. It will issue a token to the server to do merging. But does it do merging or not depends again on a function called smart merge decision function. Here, look at this. What is this here? Smart merge decision function. Again, there is some criteria specified here. Even though I issue a command to perform merging, which is like smart merge, it will issue a token to the server, but it does do merging only if this condition is satisfied, which is called as smart merge decision function. So in BW for all your cube or DSOs, we would prefer to use smart merge generally. Clear on this, boss? Yeah. So why you get loading? It will wait till loading. Yeah, smart merge means what? We have switched off the auto merge. So there's no system built-in process which is checking for performing merging. Okay, when you switch off the auto merge, then after I finish load, I would issue a command say do merging now. That is called a smart merge. When I issue the command, it issues a token to the server to perform the merging, but it does do the merging only when this condition is satisfied for me. Yeah? No, we have to give the, when you give manual, that is what you give, you refer to as smart merge. Okay, boss. Now this is common across all the tables. No, it's about settings the command. You can so let's say you already created, while creating table, you can say auto merge off or auto merge on. There's a statement like that. But let's say you already created a table with saying auto merge been enabled. Let's say there are 100 tables for which you have enabled auto merge already. Then you start using alter statement, and then say smart auto merge or off or on. I can do that. So if I have 100 tables, I'll have to execute 100 alter statements to alter all those 100 table definitions. It's not like one command, you don't do that. So I'll have to execute 100 alter statements to alter the definition of 100 tables to switch off the auto merge. We'll get it deep, but not able to hear me. Hello? Can you hear me now? Hello? Okay. So there's much more complexity, much more critical merge, forced merge. Critical merge in the sense you have, let's say, you have switched off the auto merge bus, and you're not even issuing the command, but system finds that this table is really huge and we cannot go without triggering the merging for this. Then that is triggered by system that is called as critical merge. And then there's something called forced merge. Okay, let's say I issue a token. When it's a forced merge, I don't want to check any condition. Irrespective of the condition, I want to do the merging straight away. Bus. That is called as forced merge, I would say. I'll say perform merging on this table with parameter forced on. When I say forced on, even though my server is busy or no condition is checked, even the server is busy, it has to do merging on this table for me. That is called forced merge. Forced merge, critical merge, auto merge, smart merge. We'll have types of merging like this. Yeah. We can modify. You will just say right click and say change. Here you specify new condition value and say good and say if I say save, this condition gets and saves it there. And there's a meaning for all this. This is not just like a condition. MMS is main memory storage space. And DRC is like delta records cell count. And what is the number of cells in my delta store? What is maximum number of cells in memory store? And condition raster. And to get it more understanding of this, you can start reading this document. If you go to Google, SAP HANA, Delta merge, there is one PDF. Yeah. Just read, confusing also, just go through this document for now. We'll anyhow get into detail, but this will tell you what is merging and what is column store, how merging is done, and then what are the different merge types and how it does. And you asked me about conditions, right? If you just go down this document, yeah, they will explain you those abbreviations. What is DDMMS? What is DRC? Yeah. DMS is delta memory size. MMS is main resident memory size. Table merge delay. DMR memory rows. You'll have some abbreviations. That is what the formula is based on. So you understand about the column store table now, okay? But we'll get it to see details. And if you can see, I can show you one. For example, I have a table. This is like some table. Say open definition. And if you go to runtime information, you would see this here. See what is here? Main and what is this? Delta. So this is actually what type of table is this? Column store, and it's got two memory locations. One is main and delta. Like internally, it does maintain two storages like that. Yeah. And one more point to be stressed here is, so now the question is, does your delta merging really takes a lot of time? How do we improve the performance of merging? That's the point comes out. So the point here is we use something called partitioning. Let's say I have a columnar storage of table. I have got a column store table, and you can do range partitioning or whatever it is. You'll have different kind of mechanism. Range means, let's say for each year I create one partition, or let's say you have round robin or hash partitioning, you would partition the table, let's say 4 or 5 partitions. Let's say I've done 4 partitions, then internally what happens? For each partition, it will have main table, delta table. So partition 1, main table, delta table, partition 2, main table, delta table, partition 3, main and delta. Each partition itself is referred as a separate table with having its own main and delta. So let's say I get some data and I do merging and I put that data into partition number 1 and I get some new set of data now. Let's say I put the new set of data into partition number 4. Now where do we have the new records written? Only in partition number 4. Now when I do merging, it does perform merging only for partition number 4 because only partition number 4 has got some new records into it. So with that case, I am restricting it to do merging only for those certain records only. నాకు 1 lakh records వచ్చినాయి first. I have done merging and I placed it to partition number 1. Now load some new records, let's say 5 records. The 5 records have gone into, let's say, partition number 4 now. Now when I do merging, in which partition do we have some new records written? Partition number 4. Now when I do merging, it does trigger merging only for the partition where there's new data set. Which partition has got new data set? Only 4. So it does to do merging only for those 5. Had if I don't have partitioning, I should have done merging on all 1 lakh 5 records. So partitioning of table can really improve the performance of your merging of the delta merge process of the table. That is one bus. Okay. And this is for BW guys. See, in Cube, do you do compression? You know the compression concept, right? But I told you, even though you store data in detail, system HANA can handle the performance, right? Then why should I do compression? Got my point? I was saying, just have a table, drop data in detail, it can handle the performance. Then even with BW HANA, should I really do compression on the Cube? Yes, we still have, if considering this statement saying detail and then handle, then you don't need. But why do I still need the compression concept in BW is because of to improve the performance of merging bus. Endukante when you look at the fact table of the Cube, it will have 4 partitions, partition 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay. All the uncompressed data will be in partition number 4. All the compressed data will be in partition number 1. Let's say you get data set, you load one request, okay, with 1 lakh records, and you compress it. All this data will be taken to what? Partition number 1. Let's say you load new request again. You got 5 records, it will be in partition number 4. Now when I do merging, now it does perform merging only for what? Partition number 4, not for the 1, because that is already the old database. So in order to improve the performance of merging, we will do compression of the Cube. Okay. And next, another point where it looks at of improving the performance of applications running on HANA. Let's see. I got applications running on HANA, and why are they performing really well? Okay, look at this. Traditionally, you develop your applications in this way, where let's say you'll have a database server and you'll have what? Application. Let's say assume in the application server you are using a ABAP layer, and in the database server you have something like MS SQL or whatever it is. So here MS SQL server would be just used to store your data. That's it, nothing else. Yeah? And let's say you would like to process your data with ABAP server, or you write some ABAP program. Then when you trigger the ABAP program, what does ABAP program do? ABAP program will go to the database, read the required data to the application server, and then process it and give the data back to the database or to the front end bus. Okay. So let's say it has taken a certain amount of time. Now what SAP says is 60% of this ABAP program is spent in reading data from database in and out bus, and 40% is the only actual processing of your database. Getting this? Let's say you run some ABAP program in normal traditional applications. You'll have ABAP stack, you'll have the database bus. In the ABAP stack, let's say you in the application server you implement some ABAP program. Okay, when you run that, your ABAP program will hit the database, read the required data, process it, and give the data back to the database bus. So what they say is, let's say it takes an amount of time, let's say 1 hour bus. 60% of this 1 hour time is taken, just spent in reading data from database to application server, from application server to database. So they want to take this particular timing out of scope. So then the program would run within what? 40% of my time, right? So it does speed up my application. So to do that, what they've done, look at this. Instead of reading the data to the code, your coding is what? In the application server, the programs, and data is in database server. You're moving the data to the code here, right? So they started changing this application mechanism, saying where they'll push code to the database. Where is my data? In the database. And I will also write my logic also in the database server itself. Because now HANA, which is a database server, also has got its access engine where I can deploy my applications on top of it. If I deploy my application in it, when I trigger the program is running in what? HANA database, and it is accessing data what? HANA itself. So both are at the same layer itself. They want to push the code to the database. As much as possible, you should push down the logic into the HANA database. When you look at BW powered by HANA, BW is not just powered like that. As if you're not pushing the database, if you're not pushing the logic deep into HANA database, you're not going to get the performance out. Let's say I heard a lot of people saying, even after upgrading BW server onto my HANA, my loading performance is still not better in some cases. Why? You're not still pushing it. Even after having your BW on HANA, if you're still using a lot of ABAP stack, then obviously you will not get the performance. Let's say I've written my transformations with ABAP. Instead of writing transformations with ABAP, why don't I implement my transformation SQL scripting, which is what? Pushing down the logic of transformations deep into what? HANA database. Then I'm eliminating the movement of database. Okay. What they say is the one which actually executes your program and the engine which actually handles your database server, both run as processors in the same server, and they interchange the data easily. And because of this, they started the mechanism of programming where they push the code to the data. అంటే బెంజ్ కార్ కొనేది కదండి తొక్కాలి కదండి యూ హ్యావ్ టు గో స్పీడ్ యాక్చువల్లీ కొట్టడం ఫాస్ట్ పోతుంది కదండి సో ఇట్స్ నాట్ అబౌట్ జస్ట్ ఇంప్లిమెంటింగ్ HANA, ఇట్స్ అబౌట్ పుషింగ్ డౌన్ ద లాజిక్ డీప్ ఇన్ టు HANA data. You have to push down the logic first. Only then you go to get the performance out of it. Okay, boss? Yeah. ఏబ్బా అది వేరే ఇది వేరే I'm just speaking, it's not about BW anything. Let's say you're implementing some ABAP, okay? You're trying to process some data. So the same ABAP program, let's say you just write normal ABAP where you get data into internal tables, you process it and get the data into data program that way. And you write one more program where you basically call a script, you write all the data manipulations as a scripting, SQL script in HANA. And then from ABAP layer, you just call that script. Okay? Then look at the performance of both. Then you'll find the difference. Got my point? There's nothing to do with LSA here. Same mechanism, we can also use it for BW transformation. That's what I was referring. We would leverage something called ABAP database procedures, where you'll have ABAP class and a method which will be declared as HDB procedure and start including scripting into it, and thereby you're pushing down the logic deep into HANA database. And the focus. And with this again, you're getting performance of the applications. Okay. Next, I was discussing about partitioning of data. So let's say I have created a table bus. So we can partition the table bus. Let's say I go with hash partitioning. When I go with hash partitioning, let's say you can install your HANA server with a single node or multi-node bus. And 4 motherboards and 4 nodes together referring as one server. Let's say I got 4 servers together as one server, like one central instance and multiple dialog instances. In that case, what I can do, let's say I have a table. Okay. Generally, you go with horizontal partitioning. Generally, I can split the data of a table into 4 sizes. Okay, 4 parts, and each part will be stored in different server bus. So I'll have 4 index servers: index server 1, index server 2, 3, and 4. Part 1 of a table I'll put in server 1, part 2 of a table I'll put in server 2, server 3, and server 4. And partitioning of the data across blades or across index servers also would improve my process, because when you do that way, you're enabling massive parallel processing bus. ఆ మదర్ లో ఉన్న కోర్ దాన్ని రీడ్ చేసుకుంటుంది, ఆ సర్వర్ లో ఇండెక్స్ సర్వర్ లో ఉన్న కోర్స్ అవి రీడ్ చేసుకుంటాయి. సో ఇఫ్ యూ ట్రైంగ్ టు రన్ ఎ క్వెరీ which needs data, all the data of a table I'll have all the cores, the CPUs of server 1 are utilized, CPUs of server 2, server 3, server 4, everything is utilized now when you do partitioning. If I don't do partition and store all the table content in a single server, only the processors of that server are being utilized to read the table. If I partition my table across the index servers, across multiple servers, then when I try to read, then what? The data of this partition 1 is read by the processors of index server 1, and the data of partition 2 is read by the processors of what? Index server. So I've got multi-cores now getting involved to read my table. That is where I can performance by partitioning my table across the servers also. Okay. And then see they say no. Now normally we do aggregates, like aggregated data do we store. That's about partitioning. Next is what they say is you normally in BW you store DSO in a detailed format and cube in an aggregated format. So you're using aggregated tables, or in DO. They say you don't have to do pre-aggregation is not needed. On-fly aggregation can be done with the complex engines like calculus engine. HANA has got complex engines like calculus engine which can do complex operations at very speed, like aggregation, like operations like aggregation or compression, projection. Projection is what? You're just projecting only certain columns or aggregating the data, compressing. All this can be done on fly. You don't have to do pre-aggregation, pre-compression, pre-projection need not be done. It can be done all on fly. And all these are resulting and in performance. And one more point we'll have to focus is this one. And what is this? Partition. What is this here? Compression. I told compression means what? You're reducing the size and storing more data with less size. Okay, that's what they're focused on. Yeah, there is some compression concept they leverage. Okay, now look at this. They leverage something called dictionary-based coding. Yeah. See, if you create a columnar storage, internally does use something called dictionary-based integer coding, which will be leveraged like BW Accelerator. It does use that dictionary-based integer coding for compressing the database. For example, let's say I have a table with say there's a column called what? Country. I've got France, Italy, something Denmark and Belgium and Italy. Just focus on Italy. Italy is in which record bus? Record number 2, 4 and what? 8. I've got value Italy, which is in column number row number 2, 4 and 8 bus. So internally what happens, I told you each column itself will act like an index. For each column, it will have a compressed indexing bus, okay? Integer coding index, yeah? Now it takes the country index, it stores distinct values. For each distinct value, it will assign an integer bus, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, okay? And then for each of this value, like say Italy, now look at this, look at the Italy here. What is this says? What is Italy number bus? Integer number 4. Italy number 4 represents 248. What is this 248? Positioning indexing, that is what. So it does store all the data with numeric numbers like that. And because of this integer encoding, it does reduce the size of your database. And SAP minimum, it gets compressed 4 times. Let's say you have a database footprint which is stored in MS SQL Server. If I bring the same thing onto HANA, it gets compressed 1/4 of the size. Minimum. But there are projects where they're able to compress to 10 times, depending on how the data is stored. Data but generally on an average, even when they're doing sizing of the main memory, like when they do sizing of HANA server, they take minimum consideration is 1/4 it will get compressed. Minimum, that is the minimum consideration. అంటే వేరే డేటాబేస్ లో డేటా ఉన్నప్పుడు ఎంత సైజ్ తీసుకుంటుంది దాంట్లో 1/4 సైజే మన HANA తీసుకుంటుంది. బికాస్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ ఇంటీజర్ బేస్డ్ ఎన్కోడింగ్ మొత్తం ఈ క్యారెక్టరిస్టిక్స్ పెట్టుకోదు. ఫర్ ఈచ్ యూనిక్ క్యారెక్టరిస్టిక్ ఇట్ మెయింటైన్స్ ఇంటీజర్ డిక్షనరీ. And for this dictionary it maintains a positioning index saying each value refers to which rows and with row numbers. Clear in this bus? Because of this dictionary based integer coding, it does use a lot of compression techniques like this and reduces the data volume of the table. Okay. So with this, you can store more data with less space bus. So even though main memory is cheaper, but not cheaper than the disk, right? So they are leveraging this to reduce, store more data with less space being allocated. So using this compression techniques, column store mechanism and new application mechanism and partitioning from the software perspective, from the hardware perspective, massive parallel processing and storing and processing data in main memory which is basically resulting in the high performance for SAP HANA.
In compressed column, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 index, and where is the 3, 4, and 4 items?
What is,
It is why it is not taking only, it is picking only index 2, right? Why not 4 and 8?
see, this is column index. This is row index. This is row number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is actually index for your order, because you'll have primary key index, right? Each primary key index is like unique for every row. So now what it does, it will have indexing for this column, and you'll have a column called what, order. Even for orders, it does have an integer numbers here, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4. అంటే ఇది అన్ని ఆర్డర్ నంబర్లు. ఆర్డర్ నంబర్ కూడా మళ్ళీ ఒక ఇండెక్స్ ఇచ్చుకుంటుంది సపరేట్ గా. గెటింగ్ వాట్ ఐ యామ్ సేయింగ్? ఇప్పుడు నీ కంట్రీ కాలం, హౌ ఇట్ హస్ టేకెన్ డిస్టింక్ట్ వాల్యూస్ ఆఫ్ కంట్రీస్ అండ్ ఇట్ హస్ అసైన్ సమ్ ఇంటీజర్స్ ఫర్ ఈచ్ ఆఫ్ దిస్. సేమ్ ఇట్ టేక్స్ డిస్టింక్ట్ వాల్యూస్ ఆఫ్ ది ఆర్డర్ అండ్ అసైన్ సమ్ ఇంటీజర్స్ ఫర్ ఇట్. ఇది మన ఆర్డర్ ప్రైమరీకి. ఇది అంటే 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ఎందుకంటే ఒక్కొక్క రికార్డ్కి ఒక్కొక్క కొత్త నంబర్ కదా ఆర్డర్, కాబట్టి డిస్టింక్ట్ 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ఉంది. కానీ ఏ ఆర్డర్ లో ఏ కంట్రీకి లింకింగ్, ఐ టోల్డ్ సంథింగ్ కాల్డ్ పొజిషనింగ్ ఇండెక్సింగ్. సో నౌ ఆర్డర్ నంబర్ 1 is the integer number which is representing what, 4, 5, 6, and for 4, 5, 6 what is the country? 3, which is what, France. అట్లా అంటే ఒక్కొక్క కాలం ఇండెక్సింగ్, దాని నుంచి మళ్ళీ వేరే కాలం ఇండెక్సింగ్ లింకింగ్, దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ పొజిషనింగ్ ఇండెక్సింగ్. దాన్ని బట్టి derives this saying, this Italy refers to which all rows it is. Getting మనం ఇదంతా మనం చేయమని, ఇట్స్ ఆల్ ఇంటర్నల్ బస్. బట్ లోపల ఎలా ఉంటుందంటే ఇట్స్ ఆల్ మెయింటైన్, ఓన్లీ పాయింట్ యూ గట్ గెట్ దిస్, ఇట్ మెయింటైన్స్ దోస్ ఇండెక్సింగ్ స్టోర్స్ విత్ నంబర్స్ అంతే. సో సిన్స్ ఇట్ గెట్స్ నంబర్స్, ద స్పేస్ రిక్వైర్డ్ టు స్టోర్ విల్ బి లెస్. అది కాన్సెప్ట్. ఓకే, we'll stop it here, and tomorrow we will get into SAP HANA architecture. Okay, fine. Thanks. Tomorrow we'll meet. And any questions? Okay. Same time tomorrow.